I'm a day late, but there's an Oilers game on Sunday. Kinda? I mean, people wearing their clothes at least. Let's get to it. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Better Than Never. Shit.
I'm not actually inside a women's prison at the moment.
The horniest just went up to like 11.
Good afternoon.
At least say a big you to Nick.
Tyler Yaremchuk must go to Cinco de Mayo.
Ty, why won't you kiss me?
Better late than never with bagged milk.
Better late than never with bagged milk.
It's better late than never.
Better late than never.
Better late than never. Fight me if you don't agree.
Long live Arby's. I wasn't planning on playing the whole intro, and then what you missed, because I muted the microphone, was the coughing fit I had as I was going to talk. But you didn't hear it, did you? I'm a professional. I know how to push my mute button. Right on time. Right on time. These are tricks that the audio department taught me. TheAudioDepartment.ca. You can book some studio time, record a podcast, record an album. Check out the inventory list of all the dope-ass gear they have in there. It'll blow your mind. I promise you that. The audio department works to create a safe space for creativity and collaboration for artists and musicians to realize their potential and share their message through sound and story. TheAudioDepartment.ca, title sponsor of the podcast since day one. They're all very helpful. They're all very handsome, and I love them very much. Thank you. Good. Lots to get to today. I apologize for being a day late. The business daddies were in town. If you never heard us talk about business daddies before, essentially what we're talking about is the bosses. If you didn't know, the Nation Network has been bought out. This happened in November by a company called Better Collective, and so some of the senior management was in town. So your boy had to put on the business cap when I was sitting in meetings talking about how awesome we are, how badass and handsome that we can be. Fucking good stuff, man. The interesting thing for you, dear listener, if you're listening to this, you might wonder, what is a bag milk's tone like in meetings like that? Is it like this? Not really. Not really. Although sometimes it slips through. Sometimes I talk about how selfish I am. Sometimes I talk about my love of strange items on the internet. And the bosses look at me, they're like, there's something wrong with that guy. Seems to execute his job fairly well, but there's something wrong with him. And I agree. My therapist would also probably agree. The other thing, like I said, off the jump, there's an Oilers game, kind of, on Sunday, preseason. First of 8 preseason games, though I guess that is 7 days of games. There's a split squad against Calgary. And I got to say, I just started working on the GDB just slowly, kind of putting it together for Sunday afternoon, games at 4. And I got excited. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't excited. However, that comes with a qualifier. The Oilers, like I said, have 8 preseason games. The first one comes up on Sunday at 4 o'clock Mountain against the Winnipeg Jets. There's a split squad in and at versus and at Calgary on Monday. Then you got the Jets again on Wednesday, the Kraken on Saturday, the Canucks on Monday, the 30th to round out the month, and then October starts with the Kraken in Seattle on Wednesday, October 2nd. Final preseason game is against the Canucks on a Friday, October 4th. Show starts for real on October 9th against the Winnipeg Jets. That is a Wednesday night hockey affair. So the excitement I've got as I'm working through this is that I get to write about hockey again. I get to write about Oilers again. And I'm excited, even though I know, looking at the schedule, all of these games except the 2 against the Canucks, it looks like, are on Oilers Plus behind the paywall. The 2 against the Canucks look like they're going to be on Sportsnet, so you can watch it on your actual TV, like a regularly scheduled program. But the tricky part, of course, is that you have to watch the other ones on Oilers Plus. They are not going to play all their players, of course. So I have a hard time getting excited about the actual games. I'm excited that we're inching closer towards showtime, if that makes sense. Does it make sense? I think so. I'm excited that hockey is coming back. I'm not at all excited about 8 preseason games. That's probably the best way to work it. Cut it down to 4. And I get it. It's, you want to make a couple extra dollars with an extended preseason schedule. The Oilers do the max 8 games. They have to? No, they don't have to. Again, like, you're going to go to Rogers Place on Sunday at 4 o'clock. The tickets might be a little bit cheaper, but the concession's full price. And there goes the opportunity for the franchise. 4 games max. That's what I say. Nobody asked me. They should ask me, but nobody asks. So how many players, hang on, I got to find this out. How many NHL regulars need to play preseason? It's like 6 or something, isn't it? A team is allowed to play, to set play no less than 6 games and no more than 8 games in a single preseason period. So you can't do 4. You can't do 4. Minimum is 6. That'd be nice. How many veterans? How many veteran players? Doesn't say. I can't find that. If somebody knows, let me know. Let me know. I just want to know how many veterans have to play in a preseason game. 50 contracts overall. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay, here we go. Subsection of the CBA, Article 15.4 requires teams to dress at least 8 veterans for exhibition games. So on Sunday, you're going to get 8 veterans against the Winnipeg Jets. I'm going to go ahead and say none of those are fun. At least the ones we want to see. No offense to Derek Ryan. If you're Waz would love to see Derek Ryan, I'm sure. I would like to see Derek Ryan. He dresses like a dandy, kind of, and I like it. What I'm actually excited about is last night Survivor started. Don't spoil it for me. I've committed to watching this with my missus this year. She watches it every year. She loves it. And towards the tail end of the last season, I had watched Survivor probably, like, when was Richard Hatch on? Was that season 1? Elizabeth Hasselbeck was like my high school crush. And now she's like a right-wing pundit, is she not? Anyway, it doesn't matter. That was when I tapped out. But I kind of got into the back half of last season when me missus was watching it, and I've decided I want to watch it, so she's not allowed to watch it anymore. Not without me, anyway. Also, what I learned last night, as I was seeing the previews for Survivor come up, I was watching Big Brother instead. Big Brother's also getting good. You know, locking them outside for the week. Fantastic. A little torture tactics. I like that CBS is going into the torture arena with their Big Brother contestants. Super into that. But back to Survivor, when I saw the previews on it, I said I wanted to watch it. I was like, Jeff Probst's still here, hey. What does Jeff Probst make for an episode? Do you have a guess? Would you have any guess if I say, how much do you think Jeff Probst makes per episode of Survivor without looking? I'm going to give you a minute. Think about it. All right, that's all the time you get. The answer...
I want to guess. I'm going to say that Jeff Probst gets $75 because his outfits are ridiculous. There's no way he doesn't like wearing that shit. It looks like it's been the same little cute shorts every time for 40 seasons of that show. I swear to God, you tell me that it is $75.
Don't be silly, Satan. Jeff Probst isn't going to do that for $75. I wouldn't even do it for $75 on Big Dave, and I'm not even as famous as Jeff Probst, even though everybody in Vancouver knows me and respects me because I'm Big Dave. Big Milk, what is the number?
The number, gentlemen, $200,000 per episode. He makes $4 million per season of Survivor. They air 2 seasons per year, $8 million to do Survivor as the host. Everybody has to sleep in the sand. Jeff Probst gets to sleep in the hotel. He is the winner of Survivor every single season. Good. That out of the way. I'm excited about it. The other thing I'm excited about, big football guy. You all know I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan now. Was literally talking to Frank Saravalli shortly before I started recording today, and he just kind of said to me, what is your problem? I invited you to be an Eagles fan. If you had chosen the Eagles as the team you wanted to cheer for, you could have come to games with me as a season ticket holder. Do you understand this? And I said, do you have Justin Jefferson? And he said, no. And then Frank went on a story or a little tangent about how the Eagles picked someone right before Justin Jefferson in the draft. A receiver who is no longer with the Eagles. Still a sore point for a lot of Eagles fans, which I thought was funny. My Justin Jefferson jersey came in the mail. I look very handsome in purple. Another knife I get to twist in my friend's back. That being Frank Saravalli, of course. Sticking with football, I am 2-0 in the Nation Fantasy Football League. Week 1 was my Super Bowl because I beat Tyler week 1, and I feel like that was really fun because he loves football and knows a lot about it, and I too enjoy football, but I don't know very much about it. So to beat Tyler, very fun. Brett Holden, roasted him week 2. This week I've got Waz. I'm going to stomp you into the dirt, my friend. Stomp you into the dirt. As I'm recording this, I'm just going to check in our fantasy league to see if Waz has pitched me another trade. He is putting Justin Jefferson on the market. But let me see if I can propose a trade here to him. I'm going to try and offer you... Here, I'm going to offer him Jared Goff. I only have one quarterback, though. His team is in shambles because he's got a lot of injuries right now. So if I offer him Jared Goff, he's averaging 18 points a week in fantasy. Justin Jefferson is off. He went 16 points that week and 26 last week. Let me see. Jared Goff, 13 points in week 2. I'm going to do this. I'm going to straight up try and fleece him here right on the podcast. Give him to me. I will find another random quarterback that can get me 12 points in a week. You know, I can do that. Let's do this. Let's see if I can get this done. He wants Lamar Jackson. Not going to happen. Confirm. Let's do it. Let's see if Waz accepts my trade proposal by the end of the podcast. Either way, I'm 2-0. I'm very good at it, as it turns out. I didn't expect to be this good, and it's bothering everybody at the office, especially when I roll in wearing fresh Vikings gear. The purple looks good on me. What am I going to say? Let's get to the news. The news is brought to you by Star Mechanical, one of Edmonton's biggest locally owned and operated plumbing and heating businesses in the city. For over 20 years, they've been working within the community, and many of the homes built in Edmonton over those 2 decades have had their plumbing and heating systems installed by Star Mechanical. They have professionals. They have name brands. They are open 24/7 for emergency services. StarMechanical.ca. Book a time, book an appointment. Help them help you keep your home running smoothly. The news I want to start off this week is training camp is underway. The boys are back in town. The boys are on the ice, and they're looking handsome. But with that, you also get some updates about what's going on with who. One of those names that we've been waiting on for some information is Evander Kane. Evander Kane has been banged up. We know it. We know that he was going to be out for a minute. We know there's probably going to be surgery as well. What Evander Kane confirmed, though, when he went up to the podium to speak to the media is that he's getting a lot done. I'm having a lot done, said Kane. Both abductors on each hip, 2 torn lower abdominal muscles, and 2 hernias. Did anybody else just grab your insides? It can't be me, right? I don't even know how those injuries happen, but they all sound painful. And there's 2 of everything? This is not fun. This is not fun for anybody. So for Evander Kane, I don't even know how you're upright, dude. I got a sore back just from sleeping. And you're dealing with, once again, both abductors on each hip, 2 torn lower abdominal muscles, and 2 hernias. Ugh. Why not hear from the man himself? I got a clip. I pulled it for you. Here's Evander Kane on what's going on.
To be honest, I'm excited to get this fixed and get healthy. I'm really looking forward to feeling 100% for the first time in a while, whatever that day is, and getting back on the ice and doing what I know I can do.
Yeah, you were a dominant player when you first signed here for the end of that season into the playoffs. Is there anything that you feel would prevent you from kind of getting back to that point again?
No. As far as from what I know heading into this, not at all.
I think that for Evander Kane, the opportunity to actually get healthy is huge for him. And I say that not just on a hockey side, but like on a human side. Again, both abductors on each hip, 2 torn lower abdominal muscles, and 2 hernias. That is over and above when he... Oh, hi, buddy. How you doing? Hey, you want to go on mic? I'm talking about Evander Kane. Hey, bud? No? Okay. I just can't, like, from a human side, all I can think about is just like, man, what a slog to have to live your life with that going on inside you. I don't know what the surgeries look like, but for him on a human side, I'm happy he's finally going to be able to get healthy for the first time in, since Pat Maroon stepped on his arm originally, I guess. It's been tough sledding for Evander Kane in terms of his health over the last couple of years. Hopefully he gets healthy. Hopefully he can rest up through his off period, come back for the playoffs, and we can cheat a little bit. I'm just going to say this as a podcast confession. I want to cheat. Evander, if you're listening to this, please extend the rehab on those surgeries. Extend it to you can come back in the playoffs. Take the season off. You're getting the checks anyway. Rest up. Get healthy. Come back as a healthy warlord for the playoffs. Let's do it. Since the Oilers are going to be banged up a little bit, both Evander Kane, as I just walked through, and Darnell Nurse is going to be doing light duties, almost like load management here a little bit in training camp while he recovers from whatever he's got going on. Mike Hoffman was signed to a PTO today, and I think that's an interesting name because there was a time when I think a lot of us Oilers fans would have loved a guy like Matt Hoffman to jump in on our organization because of the fact that he was a guy who would fill the net with goals. He would fill the net with goals. And, you know, as a 34-year-old man now, turns 35 in November, those days are probably gone behind him. But over the last handful of years, last year he had 10 goals, 13 assists in 66 games with the Sharks. The year before that in Montreal, he had 14 goals and 34 points. The year before that, he had 15 goals and 35 points. So he has still been productive even in a depth role. I have no idea where he fits, you know. Last year, he made $4.5 million. This year, he's probably going to make pocket change. I don't know where he fits on this organization, provided that he has a great camp in preseason and has to play. I'm almost wondering if he's just going to be one of those names in the preseason. You have to have a veteran play in the exhibition games, as I just read from the rules. He's a veteran. 745 NHL games, 228 goals, 487 points. He's an interesting cat because he can play both wings. I wonder what the plan is there. I'd love to know. I guess we will find out in good time. The other PTO that the Oilers signed is forward Jasper Weatherby. Jasper? I imagine it's a soft J. Jasper Weatherby, also from the Sharks organization. I'm curious to know what the plan is with them. He played with the Milwaukee Admirals last year. He was drafted by the Sharks originally, sorry. He played with the Milwaukee Admirals last year in the AHL, 66 games played, 12 goals, 13 assists, 25 points. I'm guessing that is just a depth move specifically for Bakersfield. And maybe it almost has to do with the next point that I've got. Roby Järventie, he is the player that the Oilers traded Xavier Bourgault for from the Ottawa depth chart. Roby Järventie will be missing training camp. He suffered a knee injury. That's a bummer. Never want to see a guy get injured in training camp and kind of miss that time, especially when he would be kind of, I don't want to say a bubble player because that doesn't seem right, but like a player who's trying to have make a good first impression, put himself in a position to succeed when he goes down to Bakersfield or whatever is happening there. Bakersfield. So shout out to Roby Järventie. Hopefully you have a speedy recovery too. The other next thing I want to get to is Vasily Podkolzin, who came over from the Vancouver Canucks and trade for a 4th round pick earlier in the summer. He's a funny guy. He's a funny dude. I didn't know. I'm sorry. I didn't know much about your game, but he's a funny dude. And I thought that his little presser he did after practice today was pretty funny. And I just wanted to play it for you.
This city is special for me because I lose here Glinka Gretzky Cup, I lose here World Junior games, and but on the same time it was my first NHL game here. It's great to have fresh start here, and it was it's big club with big history and some big names in our team, and this is great to be around.
What's it like going to be on a team playing with Connor McDavid against him?
It's great to be with him, not against. It's especially when he was on the ice. I was on the bench all the time, so I didn't play much against.
Pretty nice weather in Vancouver. Do you think you'll be okay in the winter here? Or?
I'm from Russia. I don't really care about it.
See, the guy's got jokes. My man's got jokes. My man has got jokes. In just other news, this is again. This covers the Ohtani boys news. So shout out to Tyler and Jay. Shohei Ohtani is now the 51-51 club as he just hit the home runs he needed to get to 51 and also the stolen bases. So Shohei Ohtani, Tyler and I were watching the highlights last night. We went out for dinner and I thought that it would take him a little bit more, but turns out one more game, dingers and stolen bases. That is Shohei Ohtani. He's just such a pleasure to watch. That dude is an absolute stud. Happy for him. The other thing I want to talk about before we move on to the next segment is, actually, I got two more things. Just the new line combos. I love that. Again, I'm not going to put much stock into day one line combos. And if you do and you're getting mad about things, you need to chill the fuck out. The thing that I like, though, from this group one line combos that Stauffer tweeted out was Nugent-McDavid Hyman is being kept together, at least to start. That line was so productive for the Oilers all season long that I would have been bummed if they split up those three. And also it sets the table for Skinner, Draisaitl, Arvidsson to be a second line that I think is going to be an absolute demon of a trio. So I like it. The other line combos, again, this is just the group one line combos. You had Nuge, McDavid, Hyman, Podkolzin, Derek Ryan, Corey Perry, Ralph Lavoie, Lane Peterson, Matt Savoy, Wright, O'Reilly, Steffen, Clattenburg, Gruby, and DeJong. Kulak, Brown, Nurse, Emberson. So Nurse did play some light reps today. Deneen, Carrick, Hoffenmeyer, Kanik, and Lapert, Akey. So Bo Akey was on the ice, even though he missed the Young Stars tournament. And then the goalies for that session were Skinner, Rodrigue, and Unger. Again, there's most of these guys are going to be gone. But for them, I think it's super cool. You got to go through your first camp. If it is their first camp or their second camp, whatever, that's all super cool. You also get to see where you're at relative to your peers. So as much as I want to complain about the preseason and training camp taking forever, it does. I hate it. It's not for me. I understand that. And finally, to wrap up the news, I want to talk about these rumors that just keep popping up over and over again. I feel like this player, and I said this on low tide on my hit today. Oh no, my computer froze. Are we still good with the recording? Are we still here? Is the counter still going? Still going. All right, we're good. I said this on my hit on low tide. Rasmus Ristolainen. I don't know why the Oilers get tied to him as much as they have. And this summer, again, and I know they're looking for some depth on the wing, or on, not the wing, on defense, specifically the right side. His name has popped up again. Rasmus Ristolainen, the 29-year-old, 8th overall pick from 2013. Last year with Philly, he had 1 goal and 3 assists in 31 games. Why are we doing this? This was a player who is set to make $5.1 million until the 26-27 season. I don't think we need Rasmus Ristolainen. Why is he the new Drew Stafford? Every year, it seems like the Oilers are tied to this dude. And just like Drew Stafford, it never happens. Why do we do this every single year? Why? I don't want it, and I don't need it. And there's some people that I very much respect their opinions. Tying the Oilers to Rasmus Ristolainen, I don't understand it. He is not the defenseman we need. We need a Jason Smith. Jason Smith wasn't 50, whatever he was. I would go sign him, but we don't have him right now. I don't understand the Rasmus Ristolainen rumors at all. And that's where we're going to wrap up the news. Visit starmechanical.ca. Ooh, that came back quick. Starmechanical.ca to schedule an appointment and let them help you keep your home running smoothly. They supply and maintain all the major brands like Lennox, Carrier, Goodman, Train, and more. Star Mechanical. They're your home's friend, everybody.
Good afternoon. It appears you have reached the message bank of Better Late Than Never with Bagged Milk, a.k.a. Scott Johnson. If you are trying to reach Captain Felton, his lines are not appropriate for your regular fucking podcast avenues, so I don't know. DM him on FetLife. Whatever. Anyway, listen to this podcast and all that sort of shit. Let's go Oilers. Fuck you, Donkey Belly.
Wow, what a bumper read by Dukes. It just said the voicemail today just said Dukes, or just said bumper. So I was excited to hear it, and I think Dukes nailed it as he always does. I want to talk a little betting before we move on to the Righteous Sack beating. So the betting segment, of course, is brought to you by our friends at Bet365, proud partner of Better Late Than Never. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets. So whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it is never ordinary at Bet365. Since we're just doing this podcast on Thursday today, I want to give you a little insight on my Thursday night football bets. Again, I'm just learning I'm just learning the answers here. And I'm learning about foosball. And what that means is putting a couple shekels down where I think is appropriate. Today, the New York Jets played the New England Patriots. I have got Breece Hall anytime touchdown at minus 180. I don't really like the odds, but Chalmers convinced me it was basically a sure thing. So if this does not hit and I lose my bet, I blame Chalmers because he told me this was the move today on Real Life. The other one is I'm tailing Aaron Bordato, host of Pre-Gaming and After Dark, on a Garrett Wilson touchdown. The logic from Aaron was he does not have a touchdown yet this year. There's no way he's going to keep going. Plus 140. Throw a couple of nickels on there, see what happens if I get my Garrett Wilson touchdown. But going back to the NHL, it's been a minute since we've revisited the Stanley Cup future odds, and I'm actually getting excited to the point where we're actually going to be able to talk about real games here soon. But in the interim, we're going to check back in on the Stanley Cup odds to see how they've changed over the course of the summer, and the answer is that they haven't. The Oilers are still favored to win the Stanley Cup this year at plus 800. So the Oilers' odds really haven't changed. The one that I find the most interesting, though, and I don't understand the betting public's thoughts on it because I don't know that they're near good enough to actually get the job done, is the New Jersey Devils at plus 900. They are second favorited to win the Stanley Cup in 2024-25. And I got to say, I don't really understand it. Jacob Markstrom is definitely an upgrade on what they had in net. I agree with that. But he is also a choke artist in the playoffs, allegedly, in my opinion. I also like that they're going to get Dougie Hamilton back because when he's at his best, he's a very good defenseman for them. But I just don't know that what they've done, including hiring Sheldon Keefe as their coach, is enough to push them into the upper echelon of teams that are contending for the Stanley Cup. That's not to say that they don't have plenty of talent. I like Jack Hughes a lot. I like Luke Hughes a lot. I think both of those brothers are fantastic hockey players, but I don't think that the Devils are going to have the juice it takes to get through the gauntlet of a regular season and through the playoffs to the Stanley Cup final. I just don't. So to see them second favorited as Stanley Cup winners is surprising to me at plus 900. Up at third is the Carolina, not the Carolina Panthers. No, they're terrible. The Florida Panthers and the Dallas Stars are both tied for third place in terms of being favorites, plus 1,000. That's actually a reasonable bet for both of those teams. Both of those teams are going to be really good. The Panthers could, if anything, maybe have the Stanley Cup hangover. That is not an uncommon thing in the National Hockey League. They went through the gauntlet. They got to the Cup finals 2 years in a row. That takes a lot on the body. The Stars, they're just really good. They're a really good team, so I could see them fitting in there. Up next is the Avalanche and the Carolina Hurricanes at plus 1,100. They would make sense as Stanley Cup favorites to me. The outlier here, and I don't know that it's close, in my opinion, is the Devils at plus 900 as the second most favorited team to win the Stanley Cup. Admittedly, I don't watch a lot of Devils games. I do pay attention to what's going on in the Eastern Conference. I am one of those guys where if there's a game on, I'll check it out, but I'm not actively searching out Devils games. I do follow along, and I did see where they were at last year. You know, a guy like Jack Hughes, he looked like he was going to be 110, 100 and whatever point player last year. He got hurt. The concern there is that it happens again. They're smaller guys on that team, a lot of skill, and I don't know that Markstrom is going to be the answer in net. So correct me if I'm wrong. Feel free, leave me a voicemail and say, Bag Milk, you don't know anything about nothing. But in the interim, I think I'm close on this. I think I am. I really, really do. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets. So whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it is never ordinary at Bet365. Use the promo code OILYBONUS.
Oh, Captain Felton with your charms. In your uniform, you're looking so fine and so true. Through the high seas and beyond. I'd follow the stars just to be where you are. Oh, I would sail the seven seas for love. With you, my captain, under skies above.
Dead stop. That was too early. Dead stop. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get spicy. It is Righteous Act beating time.
You want to see a man, boy? I'll show you a man. Kick me in the jimmy.
Trilogy Oilfield Rentals are an established provider of tools and expertise across multiple oilfield disciplines, specializing in rentals, pipe recovery, fishing, abandonments, and completions. Currently, they maintain full-time operating units in Provost, Weyburn, and Kindersley. What kind of tools do they have? I'd love to tell you. Rental tools, fishing tools, coil tools, drilling tools, mills and bits, completion tools, any tools for any job. TrilogyRentals.ca. I am still maintaining that one business in my pocket. And I know there's people that want to hear it. I know you do. But I'm not going to tell you yet. There's been some slight movement. I don't want to shoot myself in the foot, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? It should make sense. So the good news is you've got things that are annoying you. I've got 3 guest RSBs this week. So we are going to go with what annoys you. And maybe by next week we'll have a resolve and I can finally tell this fucking story. Because it's really not that interesting. It's just it's just annoying to me. And you probably won't agree. Maybe you will. We're generally on the same page, aren't we? Try to be anyway. All right. I'm going to give you the button and then I'm going to press the RSB. These don't have a name on it. This first one anyway.
You want to see a man, boy? I'll show you a man. Kick me in the jimmy.
Anonymous angry person, who are you?
I got another one, actually. Another RSB.
Wait a minute. I think I played these out of order. So that's obviously Ari. Hello, Ari. I think this one must be the first part then.
Righteous sack beating. I don't do these, but this week I feel like I need to. Just to vent a little bit, you know? So, long story short, I'm back in the situation with somebody where I just don't want to be. Fuck, I thought I got rid of it, but here we are. All I want to say is, fuck this, fuck that, fuck you. I got better things to do. I don't have time to spend mental capacity on this bullshit, so you know what? I'm just going to focus on myself, and I'm just going to do me. All right? Thank you.
What is the RSB? Are you mad at me or are you mad at the person you're with? You should be mad at yourself if you put yourself in a situationship you're not happy with. There is no one to fault here but you, Ari. Unless you're mad at me, which it sounded like. The presentation of that RSB was very strange to me, in my opinion. Now the part 2 from Ari, might as well go. You don't get a second button. That first one was confusing.
I got another one, actually. Another RSB. So, university's back up, right? And 4 days of the week, I don't have time to make something to eat in the morning. So I'm always going to class hungry. And then in the middle of the day, I'm always tempted to buy something. And I don't want to do that because I'm trying to watch the calories and maintain really, really good shape. It's really annoying. God damn it.
I have the same kind of problem, I guess. It doesn't make me angry, though. I just kind of deal with it. I don't eat breakfast a lot in general. If I'm going to skip anything, it's generally breakfast. But lately, even with eating lunch, I've been ravenous when I get home. Got to control that. Got to keep shit tight. I confessed a handful of weeks ago that the playoffs were not kind to the old waistline for your boy Bag Milk, but I'm trying to get it under control. But sometimes when I get in these ravenous moods, what are you going to do? It's like I'm hibernating. It's like my body knows winter is coming. They're like, we need to fatten up for the winter. It's a battle. It's my cross to bear. Righteous sack beating coming in from Derek. So I'm going to give you the button.
You want to see a man, boy? I'll show you a man. Kick me in the jimmy.
What's bothering you, Derek?
Okay, BM, righteous sack beating. McDonald's send you to the parking lot to wait every single fucking time you try to order food through the drive-thru. We used to tell people, hey, your food's, if you want that, it's going to be a 10-minute wait. Do you still want to get it? Now they wait until after you've already paid to tell you it's going to be a wait and send you to the parking lot. If I wasn't such a fucking nice person, I might just sit in the drive-thru and say no. Like, what are you going to do? You're not going to get in my car and drive me to the parking lot. No. Also, if I had any fucking principles, I would stop eating at McDonald's, but it's just so goddamn delicious. Fuck, we used to be a real country.
We used to be a society, man. The thing that bothers me with McDonald's right now, it goes back, like, if you listen to Real Life, you've heard us argue about this a bunch of times. Not argue, but, like, vent about this a bunch of times. This bag thing, and I know it's not just McDonald's. I know that's a bylaw thing, where the 15 cents per bag. But they've got to come up with a better system when you don't need a bag than just dumping, essentially, by accident, to be fair, dumping your fries on the tray and then you got to pick them up with your hands off the dirty ass fucking tray. Like, certainly we've got to have a better vessel by which to get those things in my car than what we're doing now if I don't want to purchase the bag. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. If you look at my house right now, I would guess my inventory of those disposable grocery bags, I've got 200,000 of them in my house now. Is that better than the plastic bags or the paper bags? I don't know. Let me think about your RSP, though. Pulling up. It is like, they're kind of also, I have a problem with McDonald's with the double, and it's not just them anymore, I suppose, but like the double drive-through line. It doesn't make things any faster. A lot of times, unless we're all just ordering coffees, because sometimes you get up to window 1 and they're like, are you the 2 coffees, 1 snack order? I'm like, no, that's not even mine. No. So like the order gets mixed up, and then I don't understand the logic. Somebody explain it to me. I don't find it to be faster at all. That's my drive-through complaint. Anyway, there's Righteous Sack beating for our friends at Trilogy.
You want to see a man, boy? I'll show you a man. Kick me in the jimmy.
You're listening to Better Late Than Never. And despite what Donkey Volley might think, the voicemail is not a fucking lava lamp.
It could be a lava lamp. The voicemail is presented by Oodle Noodle. Currently, they've got 4 torpedo shrimp for only $4. If you're a little bit hungrier than that, you can make it a meal anytime. $6.99 in store. Add that onto the price of your box. That'll include 2 spring rolls or a green onion cake with a pop. Complete the meal for $6.99 in store. Also, stay tuned for some activations on this here podcast. I'm shaking Jay down. I grabbed him by his ankles. I turned him upside down and I shook him. And you know what fell out of his pockets? Nothing but Oodle Noodle gift cards. So keep your ears and eyes peeled for some free Oodle Noodle courtesy of me, because I'm good that way. Yeah. So if you're looking for Oodle Noodle, if you're looking for something delicious, may I recommend everything they have, right? You know what I didn't do? I didn't export all the voicemails from my computer to the soundboard. So I'm going to do that right now as I'm talking. And we'll see how well it actually works while I'm vamping. Can I multitask effectively? Did you hear that little do-do-do-do? That would be the voicemails hitting the soundbar. They're in there. I can delete that now. All right. I'll turn this off. Essentially, I had to turn off the Wi-Fi. I don't want my iPad to be getting a bunch of just like dingles and dongles. You know what I mean? That doesn't work for me. Does not work for me. First, a voicemail comes in from Anonymous. Who be you?
All right, just for my own understandation is what is the terminology I'm going to use.
Understandation is a good word.
Only Dangerous Wade's classy enough to know that's not a real word.
Dangerous Wade, by the way, dropped off a bunch of desserts for me today at Nation HQ. He swung by. He actually sent me a message on Twitter that I missed. And then as I was walking out of the building, because I had to go to do a phone call meeting in my car, I saw him on the way out and he had gifts for me. So I was very, very grateful. He also brought some pre-packaged espresso martinis, which who doesn't love an espresso martini? They're fucking delicious. Dangerous Wade is one of the best people I know. Anyway, Dux, I derailed your voicemail.
So when you guys pay rent, obviously, like you pay rent by the month. I'm aware of that because when I first looked at rent prices in Edmonton, I was like, holy fuck. And then I figured out it was monthly, and I'm like, oh, that's actually really chill compared to Australia. A straggler, whatever. We're a bit backwards down here, even though we're ahead of the time. So, like, are your utilities and shit covered in rent? So, like, if I moved into a place, like, say if I rented a place in Edmonton and lived there for a period of time, does that mean, like, electricity and water and fucking everything else and, like, is, like, included in your rent? Because, like, over here, you pay your rent weekly or fortnightly. And then, but you're also responsible for...
That was a weird thing when I lived in Australia. I got an apartment in Melbourne in a neighborhood called St. Kilda. And when we showed up for the viewing on our apartment, it was me and a buddy. They said the rent was like, I don't remember what the number was, but let's say $100. So in our head, we went $100. Holy hell, that's cheap rent. We're in. And then he goes, all right, that's due every Friday. I was like, oh, that's per week. Interesting way that they do that. Anyway, I was very caught off guard, just as Dukes. It's the reverse for you. See, same, but different.
Your own utilities, like power and everything else, comes quarterly or whatever you've got it set up as. So, like, man, if you guys getting your utilities included in your rentals, that's fucking heaps sick. Like, that's yeah. I don't know. It sounds pretty fucking good to me, just quietly. Anyway, yeah.
So to answer the question, it really depends on where you live. Every place is different. Some of them will make you pay your utilities on your own. Some of them will include them, or some of them will do a split. Like, you have to pay your heating bill, but water and electricity are covered. So I just moved my mom into a new apartment, in like an adult building, you know what I mean? And her rent, what is included for utilities is she has to pay the heating bill, so the gas bill. Water and electricity are covered. She has to get her own cable and internet. So that is my mom's place. That is the most recent apartment information I have. My place, I have a mortgage on my place, so I pay a weekly mortgage because I'm responsible, yo. And all the utilities are on me, and the property tax and the insurance and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so Dukes, the thing is, when you're looking for a place, just some of them are included, some of them are not, some of them it's a blend. So just keep your eye out for that. That makes sense. Does it make sense? Should. I'm very smart.
Right, mate. So just a quick question.
Yes, sir.
I was listening back to a few weeks ago when I had the RSB about calling out my work, or I can't call him a workmate anymore, but work person for wearing a Calgary Flames shirt during a virtual meeting. And you're like, oh, it's like, we all wanted to punch Woz when he took the Stars, but, Woz will always be safe when he's at work, when he's in the office.
Mm-hmm.
And I, like, why? Why is his safety guaranteed when he's in the office? Like, why should he be treated any differently? Like, yeah, you don't go to work every day expecting to, be befouled by some sort of, negative experience. But I feel like to guarantee was a safety is a pretty big call because, I mean, like, even if no one's out to get him, like, I assume you've met Woz at this point, right? Like, he is capable of, like, unintentionally hurting himself. Like, I love the guy more than most people on the planet, but, like, it is still Woz, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't correct me because I'm not wrong.
I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. That was the most entertaining voicemail that I heard in quite some time. I don't remember what I said. Of course, Woz is safe at work. What do you want me to do? Tackle him? I would. I challenge Woz to wrestle all the time at work, and yet he has yet to take me up on my offer. Speaking of Woz, let me check our fantasy pool to see if he accepted my Justin Jefferson trade. He has not accepted it yet. He knows. He put Justin Jefferson on the block because he knows, as a newfound Viking fan, a lifelong Viking fan since week one, I want him. I want him on my team. By the way, I mentioned it earlier, but I'll say it again. I look very handsome in the Justin Jefferson jersey. It's the purple one. You can Google that in your own time. Just imagine what I look like. It's very, very handsome. That's the answer.
Very handsome. Listen, Satan's a big fan of red. So I was hoping you were going to like the Kansas City Chiefs, maybe even that Bears shitty third uniform that they've got that's kind of red-orange. But I gotta say, as you were popping on that Justin Jefferson jersey and you wore it out to work, it's a nice purple, you had it over a hoodie, and you had a whole look going, and I at the same thought it was kind of cool. And what I didn't tell you is that when you left the house, I'm a little embarrassed to confess this now, that my hands, they wandered They wandered south for the winter, if you know what I'm saying. I took some mental snapshots as you were leaving their place, and Satan stored that in his pocket for a quiet time in the afternoon when the golden hour was just right. The sun was beating in through the living room window, and, well, glad you Scotch guarded your couch because, that image...
LCYEG plus dog is the next voicemail. I hope the dog has more to say than Frank does. He has yet to speak in the microphone that is dedicated solely to him. LCYEG plus dog. What do you guys say?
Hey, what's up, Big Milk?
What
It's LCYEG. I have a righteous sack beating, I guess.
Oh, hang on. You can't do it without this.
You want to see a man, boy? I'll show you a man. Kick me in the jimmy.
That's what we call fusion between the fine folks at Oodle Noodle and Trilogy Oilfield Rentals. Trilogy Oilfield Noodle. Back to you.
I don't have a sack, clearly, but I mean, I can have one of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, let's go. Oh, there's my dog. I'm going to have to fucking call back.
That dog.
Sorry.
Do I know what kind of dog you have? I don't know that I know what kind of dog you have, but that dog's got a meaty growl, don't he?
That's pretty terrifying.
I am scared of that dog. My Doodle would never bark at me like that. He just goes, "Oh, hello, Quads. I think you are so handsome. Thank you for being my owner. I appreciate the way you feed the kibble to me twice a day. That dog is a little bit scary, though."
All right, let's try that again. We got LCYEG back for a take two. Again, that dog. Beefy bark on that thing.
Hey, Big Milk, let's try this again.
All right.
Sorry about my dog. He decided he needed to protect the car from the very small dog walking by our car.
Listen, when you got a bark like that in the pocket, you got that in the holster, you're ready to go at any time. You let that bark go. You know?
Anyways.
But right, again, we're going to give you the button. We're going to do this right, LCYEG. We're not going to do this half-ass.
You want to see a man, boy? I'll show you a man. Kick me in the jimmy.
Also, I admired the no take two when the dog barked. You left it, you sent it in. That's what we're meant to do. All right, back to you.
My righteous sack beating is on trains. Story time. I was leaving my school to get...
Hang on, do I got a button for story time? I feel like I do. Oh, let's go this one. There you go.
To my daughter's school to pick them up. They had already been off school for a couple hours. I knew they were tired. We just wanted to all get home.
Mm-hmm.
And I reached this point on my drive to their school where I could no longer turn anywhere. And ahead of me was a train track. But there was no train at the time. So I was like, oh, great, let's go. And then as soon as I reach the point of no return, what fucking happens? But the little arms go down, the lights start dinging, anyways. And there is a train. And not only is it a train, it's one of those ones that goes really slowly and then it stops. And God damn it, we sat there for 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And the train was stopped for about 12 and a half of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it sucked. Anyways, that's my righteous sack beating. Trains.
Listen.
Necessary, but annoying. Thanks, Big Milk.
I'm with you. So I used to live once upon a time in St. Albert, and I worked on 170th Street. So if you know anything about Edmonton, the area, you know that there's a big, well-used train track between St. Albert and where I was going on 170th Street. So, oh, hi, buddy. Get on mic. Hey, you get on mic for once. He's never on mic. I get LCYEG's dog is barking up a storm. He's got a lot to say. Frank, he's just like, oh, every time you want to talk to me, I'm going to pretend like I don't have anything to say. But I would get stuck at that train all the time. I would be late for work all the time. I would be late for work to the point where I remember my old manager calling me into an office and being like, this thing where you blame the train for being late all the time, it's got to stop. So what I would eventually do is I would call her And I would say, I am stuck behind a train. If you do not believe me, check your text messages. And I would text her a picture of me thumbs upping the train. And I would also make note of the clothing I was wearing so it wouldn't just be reusing the same photo. So I'm with you. Trains, useful, valuable, important, but ultimately annoying. Why can't we have, nothing but sub trains? Like subways. Sub trains. Why can't we have that? All the trains are underground or above the ground, floating even. This is going to take a lot of engineering to make this work, but I feel like it's an idea that I will share with the universe. Somebody else tackled that for me. Thank you very much. No need for applause, but if you want to give me some, I'll take it. Oh, thank you. Floating trains, sub trains. Those are the only ideas you get here. All right, enough of that. Moving on. Anonymous, who are you?
Real question.
Not
a real question.
Yes.
Is Wanye a real person? Or is he some type of science experiment gone wrong?
Both.
That somebody
Both
threw in the North Saskatchewan River and it coagulated for a while with the nuclear waste and crawled up on the secret beach, whatever that beach is called, and became sentient?
Yes.
Accidental beach?
Yes.
I don't know. The way
is
that
exactly what
dude's
happened.
mind works is fucking baffling. Like, the shit he says is... I just sometimes don't even know what to say.
So now Frank's got something to say. So to kind of the first part of the question, like, I've known Wanye a long time now. I've worked at the Nation in one capacity or another. Started as a freelancer in 2008. So we're coming up on, that's 16 years ago now that I've known Wanye and Jay. But Wanye specifically, yeah, he has got one of, without question, the sharpest brains I've ever met. I love nothing more than when we get to do podcasts together because our ability to riff off each other is really good. The jokes he comes up with at the speed by which he comes up with them is always fascinating to me. The mind is just, he's two steps ahead of you, even though you don't even know you're walking yet, if that makes sense. And I've learned a lot from that guy. Interesting dude, man. Really, really is.
Makes me laugh in a good way. In a good way, though. Y'all have the same shtick, hey?
What do you mean?
You kind of, people don't really know who you are.
Oh, well, so that part of it that's actually how he and I connected originally. When I was doing my own thing outside of the Nation for a while, I just had this shtick where, it started around kind of the artist Banksy. If you don't know who Banksy is, essentially he's a graffiti artist, very, very famous in the world of street art, but nobody knows who he is. They know the art, not the artist. And I loved that idea. So I loved the idea of making stuff, but nobody knew who I was. Now, as the Nation grew and podcasting and events, like, it really is a poorly kept secret with me, but Wanye maintains it much, much better. Like, if you come to a Nation event and go, hey Tyler, I want to meet Bag Milk, I'll just be like, oh yeah, he's over there. That's the best way to do it. It's kind of like a really well-kept secret within, like with my shtick, happy to meet people, but everybody's in on the joke. And that's what my favorite part about it is. Nobody outs it. It's just like, they're happy to know. We're all in it together. It's part of the shtick. I'm happy to hang out. But yeah, Wanye keeps it tight, and he does a really good job of it too.
I've thought this for a while because I've been at a handful of Nation events. If somehow I meet you, I'm not going to say, are you Bagmill? All I'm going to say is Bruce Wayne. And if you give me the nod, then I'll know. But I kind of, don't take this the wrong way, I kind of don't want to meet you now that I've got this, like, from listening to so many hours of podcast, I just have kind of like a third eye, mind's eye, imaginary version of who you are.
Yeah.
And it would, like, kind of ruin that. And I don't really, like, I don't know, kind of cool with it the way it is. And, like, what if you're not as handsome as we all think you are?
Oh, it's incredibly disappointing. I'll assure you that. It is incredibly disappointing to meet me in real life. Whatever you maintain as the third eye version, just keep that one. Just keep that one. The interesting thing, though, is that we haven't met and you've been to events because I'm generally at most of them. There's a handful I don't go to, but like generally I'm at most of them. So it's almost surprising we haven't. And what's also surprising is like as I do more podcasts, whether it's this one or ON Radio or Real Life, I get recognized just by voice a lot. Where it'll be a nation event, we're at Greta and I'll be at the bar ordering a drink and some people are like, bag milk. My favorite story, and I've told it on here before, so I don't want to go too far into it, is when I went to the Heritage Classic, I took my old man, I took my dad. I just, he's been so good to me when I was growing up and like me play hockey and supporting goals and supporting dreams. And even when I got the job at the Nation, I wasn't making any money. And he was kind of subsidizing my dream a little bit anytime I needed. And I'm grateful for it. So anyway, I took him to the Heritage Classic and the pre and post parties were at Greta. So we were getting my missus to come pick me up and my dad at Greta. And I was like, just while we're waiting, do you want to have a drink? And he goes, yeah, I'd love one. So we go up to the bar and I order Caesars and somebody turns to me and he goes, you're bag milk. And I go, hey man, nice to meet you. Like, yeah, good to meet you. He goes, I would love to buy your drinks. Is this your dad? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, I would love to buy your guys' drinks. So I said, that would be cool. Thank you very much. So we bought our 2 Caesars and we just had a little chat, talked about the Oilers, talked about the win over the Flames that day. And that was it. That was just a very, very quick 30-second exchange. But for my dad, he had never seen anything like that before, at least when it comes to like my participation in the wild in the Nation. And he loves it. He tells that story all the time because when the guy left, and I wish I could remember his name because you gave me a great moment with my old man. When he left, my dad just turned to me and went, what the fuck was that? And he still talks about it all the time because he doesn't come to our events and that's not his thing. Right. So to share that with him was pretty fun. And, yeah, Chad, if you want to meet, I'm happy to meet. If I'm there, I'm happy to do it. But if you want to maintain the illusion, it's probably for the best. It's probably for the best. Anonymous, who are you?
Hey, Big Milk.
Hey.
So I know you got corporate beef right now.
Yes.
I also have big time corporate beef right now. And I'm going to just come on here and bitch about it because it set me over the edge.
Nick, I present you an opportunity to complain about corporate beef. Let's go.
Hey, man. So DAZN. If you don't know what DAZN is a niche streaming service which has like NFL Sunday Ticket, UFC pay-per-view, and I think like English Premier League. So if you're someone like me and you cheer for a team that isn't on cable a whole lot, like the Denver Broncos, the only way you can guarantee to watch every game is to buy one of these subscriptions. I had a DAZN subscription for a number of years, and it was relatively affordable, like $10 to $15 a month. Wasn't anything crazy. The last few years, I didn't have a DAZN subscription for whatever reason.
By the way, what you're describing right now, Nick, and I'm going to let this play out, but what you're describing right now is another reason why I chose the Vikings as the team to support. Without fail, they are on CTV Winnipeg every single week. I have that channel. So no matter what, I'm able to watch the Vikings game. That is a huge benefit of liking a team for me, where I'm at in my fandom. I'm not hardcore enough where I would be like, oh, I want to watch. I think of my finalists. My finalists, the final 3 were the Bears, the Vikings, and the Raiders. A part of the problem with both the Bears and the Raiders is 1, they're terrible. 2, watching games consistently was not a given. Like I know the Bears game was the late game last weekend, but week 1, I was watching it through an illegal stream, allegedly, in my opinion. So that's part of it. Like your commitment to the Broncos and having to pay for a subservice to watch them. That's part of the reason I chose the Vikings.
To go resubscribe. The DAZN membership has gone up from $10 to $15 a month to $35 a month.
Whew.
30 freaking 5.
300% increase is no joke.
I don't know, like, what? I'm sorry, DAZN. I'm not paying $35 a month to watch the Broncos lose. And I know it's because they've added UFC. I don't know how you can justify that charging $35 a month as a streaming service. It is outrageous. So fuck you, DAZN, and your stupid prices.
I don't have DAZN in my house. I don't watch, like, again, Vikings game, regular TV. Well, I guess cable. Don't watch English Premier League. And what do you say, UFC? I don't really watch UFC either. But thinking of the other sub-services I got, that is expensive. Nick, I'm with you on this one, I think. Anonymous caller, who are you?
Okay, so fun fact. Not only have the Oilers made it to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals every single year I've ever gone over there to watch 4 games.
That is true. The math checks out.
They were also 0-4 for Greta watch parties until I attended one.
That is also true. The math checks out.
Now, I don't remember a whole lot of that game because...
You were a social butterfly, is what you were.
A lovely gentleman by the name of Carl Rossiter was providing me with drinks and food, but, you know, mostly drinks during that event. So I don't remember a whole lot of the Seattle game other than that we won. And then, yeah, whatever else. But, yeah, I just wanted to mention those 2 facts. And, you know, if someone from the Canadian Immigration Department's hearing this.
Of course they are, though. Of course
and they're an Edmonton fan. Might help them just kind of move the needle a little bit. You know?
Listen, I'm with you, Dukes. I say yes.
But anyway, I can't confirm or deny this, but Donkey Valley may or may not have chlamydia.
Well, the math checks out, Dukes. I am in full support of Canadian Immigration Services admitting you to our country based solely on your Oilers record. Though your in-person record, if I remember correctly, is not all that not all that great. I think I remember that. I think. Nondescript Chad, you're up.
You brought it up a couple times, and I've avoided answering, but I think I'm ready to answer.
All right.
You want to know the real reason I stopped doing the descriptive word Chad thing?
Yes.
The adjective.
Oh, yes, I do. Yeah, you would give me a preemptive idea of what Chad would be doing. Was he drive-through Chad? Was he excited Chad? Was he sad Chad? Was he disappointed Chad? Now we just got nondescript Chad, and you've left enough voicemails I can pick up your voice, no problem. Frank! Hey, buddy. Get on mic, man. I hope they heard that grumble. That was a good one. He wants me to throw his toy, but he won't bring it with... Like, I'm at my desk. I can't move, Frank. Anyway, talking to Chad.
Adjective Chad, whatever. I don't remember those. The real reason I stopped doing it is because Nick did it a couple times, and it just kind of ruined it for me. Mm-hmm. Kind of got the ick from it. That was my thing. Anyway, I don't want to put out any bad vibes here. That's not what I'm about, but I think we get it. So I'll come up with something else. I'm a man of ingenuity and original ideas, so we'll be back. I still do it once in a while, but yeah.
Well, now I know.
Can't have nice things.
Way to go, Nick. Let me see. Do I have anything from Nick that's coming in here? I do have Nick on here. He's actually up next, but he's just Nick. Nick with a K. You ruined Chad's bit, Nick. All right, what do you guys say?
Hey, Unc. I was thinking back to my guest righteous sack beating, and it might have been a little bit unfair of me to single out DAZN for their outrageous prices.
Sure.
Now, don't get me wrong. I think it is absolutely criminal to charge $35 a month for a niche streaming service to watch football games.
Wait a minute. Which one is you? So in the span of, I mean, I guess this came in like 24 hours later. So in the 24 hours since you left the DAZN complaint, come back down to earth. Some self-awareness from Nick. All right.
But DAZN's price hike is just another price hike in a long line of price hikes. That just set me over the edge, man. Like, I'm a young person. I'm still in school. It's a little disheartening to see how much stuff costs. Like, I think back to when I was a kid and I used to get $2 from my parents. And me and my friends, we would go ride our bikes around and then we'd drive into the Max and I could get 10 little candies and a small Slurpee and I'd have my sugar requirement for the week.
Sure.
And now I look and at $2 will not buy you a small Slurpee at a Circle K. Or even just Little Caesars Pizza has doubled in price. Or you go to how much stuff costs at the grocery store or at the gas pump or rent. It's everything. I know Dukes talked about it last night. I know everyone talks about it. So I'm sorry to DAZN for singling them out, but I mean, it's just like $35. Are you fucking kidding me? Anyways, breast milk. See you later.
I'm Ankh, breast milk. Wait, look what you've done, Waz. Fucking Waz. Anonymous, who are you?
I was listening to last week's podcast, and you asked me where Zol was, and okay, he's retired.
Okay,
he is retired. He was here for a purpose.
Thank God.
He served that purpose. He stayed far longer than intended.
Yes, agreed.
Actually, like, you know why? Because he was so memorable. If I remember correctly, you guys kept talking about him nonstop every week.
Somebody's gotta talk about something, Ari. Have you listened to this show?
I said I was Zol the Will of Thousands, but at the same time, I am not Zol the Will of Thousands. He's kind of his own guy. I know him. I'm familiar with him, but like, I don't know. Like, he, you know, maybe he'll come back and like talk about somebody. Who knows? Like I don't speak for him. I'm not him, but I don't know what else to say.
Oh God, watch All the Will of Thousands gonna be back. Ari's trying to reinvent the bit now. He's trying to figure out how to get Zol back on the show, even though nobody wants him on the show. Ari, kill him. Kill Zol. Do it publicly. Let me see it. Let me see it.
I will say this though, like, I do feel like the podcast hasn't been the same without Zol. My favorite part was like when the Australian guy Ducks was getting all bent out of shape because Zol was talking about him. that was really funny.
Yeah, it was like your little giggle here. Well, every good story needs a villain, Ari, and you filled that role well. You can pretend you weren't Zol. You can pretend it's a guy you know, whatever that last bit was, but Zol's dead now, and he's not coming back. He's not coming back. Kyle and Balmer, you're up.
Hey, Oat Milk. I thought I would just jump in quick and give my early predictions for the Ty Ratty Award.
Oh, yes. All right, so early prediction for the Ty Ratty Award. Of course, the Ty Ratty Award is awarded to the player who has the best preseason. And we're not talking about the standards. Like, if Connor McDavid goes off in the preseason, he's not eligible for the Ty Ratty Award. My personal pick, and this is my horse in the race this year, Vasily Podkolzin. We gave us a couple of chuckles in his presser today after practice. I think he's going to come in here motivated. Vasily Podkolzin is my official pick for the Ty Ratty Award. Thank you. Thank you. Couldn't have done it without you. Back to you, Kyle.
Keep this short. I'm going to go with Podkolzin.
Oh, join me.
I think he's a good candidate for the old Ty Ratty.
Join me.
And also Amberson.
Ooh,
I think Amberson hopefully can really show us in the old training camp. And you know what? Fuck it. Let's throw in another third candidate. How about Connor Brown? Let's see what Connor Brown has, because he didn't have it last year. So yeah. What are your thoughts?
Kyle Spray in the field here. So one, Podkolzin, welcome. Two, Connor Brown, I think that he's a reasonable pick. He ended the season much better than he started it, obviously. We saw him go, Connor Brown supernova in the playoffs for him. I like that pick. Ty Emberson, though, is an interesting choice because I don't know what the metrics will be if we name a defenseman as the Ty Ratty Award winner. For forwards, it's very easy. Goals, assists, points, all of that. But for a defenseman, we need to come up with some metrics. I like the pick. I like it. It's risky. It's ballsy, Kyle, and I respect you for saying it. I like it. Riley, you're up.
Hey, BM.
What's up, man?
So I thought that Ryan Ellis had a really good question about, like, if you were an alien and you had to, if you got to zap one place with a laser or something to send a message.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I think...
long story. That was from Ask the Idiots on Oilers Nation Radio on Friday. The question was essentially, if you're an alien overlord, what would you do? And my answer was that I would destroy all human infrastructure. I would crush us all like a tiny bug to let everybody know that I'm the fucking captain now. I don't fuck around. I'm not going to be a nice alien coming down, like, let people bully me because I got a big head and my face is green. No. You're all dead. Well, at least the infrastructure is. Now what are you going to do? You bow to your alien overlord. You bow to it. Let me see. Have I got a voice for an alien? Not really. So we're going to do this one.
Hello, Earthlings. I have come to destroy your infrastructure. Bag Milk has shown me the way. You, as humans, are naughty, evil, dirty people. And I, as your new alien overlord, have come to clean up the mess you've created, mostly by being disgusting viruses that just overtake the planet. Us alien overlords will not allow for this to happen. You will soon pay for your discretions.
I just zap all of New York. Just, like, destroy that whole city and zap all of them.
That's not very nice.
Sure, it's a tragedy for the humans, but, like, if I'm an alien... I just wiped out, like, one of the most populous cities in all the world, and, like, millions of people died, and now, like, everyone's scared of me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not much different than mine, to be honest.
And then you asked about cage raging and if it's still a thing.
Yeah.
And yes, it is.
Cage raging, still a thing. Happy to hear it. Kids of the youth carrying on the traditions of yesterday into today. If you don't know what a cage rage is, that's when you just pop your helmet and gloves on. You go to town. You go to town in the dressing room. You let out the aggression. Now, have a couple of kids been concussed over the decades from such a program? Probably. But it's inspiring to know that young Riley is still engaging in team-on-team violence. Don't do that.
We played U18 last year, and our team did some. It was fun. But, and I think it's like a professional sport. Or maybe not a professional sport, but like...
I'd pay to watch it.
Thing that people do for money. Yeah.
Cage raging was a huge thing when I was a kid. We would get into in the dressing room. We would have little tournaments in there. It was a different time in the early 90s. I'll tell you that much. Sassy Shares. Welcome to the Oodle Noodle voicemail.
Hey, Big. It's Sassy Shares calling.
Hello.
I actually have a question for Satan.
No. Okay.
Does he ever plan to challenge the Fiddler down in Georgia ever again? Go Oilers, go.
Listen here. I don't know why you had to say that. I don't know why you had to bring up my old foe. I hadn't thought about him in ages. The Devil Went Down to Georgia. Song written and recorded by American music group Charlie Daniels Band, released in 1979. I haven't thought about it in years, Sassy Shares, and here you are bringing up darkness from my past. I'm trying to turn a new leaf. I'm trying to be a respectable young man. I'm trying to put all of this behind me. Don't make me relive the darkness, Sassy Shares. I have no time for it. The Devil Went Down to Georgia, and you know what I found? Nothing good. So I came to Edmonton, and I'm posting up shop at Bag Milk's house and jerking off on the couch while he's at work, because I know he's wearing a Dustin Jefferson jersey. Looks very handsome. I can't even believe it. Oh my goodness.
That was too much. Too much. Kyle, you're up. Once again.
Hey, BM. So, upon further thinking,
I think that the most important person actually coming out of the preseason going into the season, I believe that's what the Tyratty is.
Well, I mean, like, the definition has changed over the years, but it's the best player in the preseason who's not already a star player, essentially, more or less.
Is actually none other than Evander Kane. He, going to get surgery right now, is the biggest factor going into the season because of the amount of cap room he's giving us. I don't actually know if he's eligible, but if he's not, at the very least, honorable mention, Evander Kane for the Tyratty.
Evander Kane for the Tyratty. Now, can he be the champ if he doesn't play at all? I don't think so. I don't think that follows the spirit of the rule. However, I gotta think about that. Him going on the IR and allowing the Oilers to accrue cap space and potentially, let's cheat when the playoffs come around. That could be worth it. We may have to adjust the rules, though. We may have to adjust the criterion to include Evander Kane as potential MVP for the Edmonton Oilers in the preseason. Now, I'm not opposed to it. You got me thinking out loud now. I just don't think that follows the original spirit of the Tyratty Award. Though, all rules are meant to be broken. Anonymous, who be you?
Let me tell you, the amount of times I've walked by Oodle Noodle wanting to buy something.
You should.
But then I remember I can't because I have to stay in good shape. I'm getting surgery in April. And I'm like, it's really annoying because I haven't tried Oodle Noodle yet and I really want to.
You should. They're the sponsor of the voicemail. They are delicious. Again, make it a meal, $6.99 in store. Includes an order of 2 spring rolls or a green onion cake and a pop. It's delicious. You're going to love it. Update. Waz has rejected my trade in the Nation Fantasy Football League. I was trying to trade him Jared Goff for Justin Jefferson, and he turned me down even though he does not have a quarterback that is worth anything. In my opinion, Tua obviously hurt for at least 4 weeks on the IR. Waz is screwed, but if he's turning down players he actually needs their position for, that ain't my fault. That ain't my fault. I'll keep trying. Speaking of which, let's wrap up the Oodle Noodle voicemail with a message of hope from my friend Waz.
How's it going, Bag Milk? Waz here. Question for you. On your hot dogs, what else do you put on it other than mustard and ketchup? Unless you want to be standard, go with that. That's respectable. But is there a third condiment or a third food item you would put on a hot dog? I'm very curious about this because it's fun to experiment with hot dogs. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, so generally speaking, if I'm just, say Waz, you and I go to an Oilers game this year and we both go, I'm going to get a dog. Chances are I'm just going to ketchup and mustard it. Chances are. However, say I'm camping. Maybe I have an inventory of hot dogs. Maybe I don't just want one hot dog. Maybe I'm going to roast myself a weenie over the fire and it's going to be delicious. And I want the first one to be my ketchup and mustard. And then the second one, a little bit different, a little bit spicier. So to answer your question, what would I do? Cheese. That's the easy one. You know how much I love cheese. And therefore, that would be the first choice as the third addition to the hot dog. Maybe do I have some fried onions? I'll throw that on there. Do I have bacon? I don't want those bacon bits that you buy in the bag that are kind of pre-cooked and weird soft and they're kind of pink. I don't want those. I want a freshly cooked piece or two of bacon. So I've got the ketchup, I've got the mustard, I've got cheese, and I've got bacon. Now I'm happy. Now, is there some fried onions available? If there are, chances are I'll throw a couple of those on there. A little tasty. Is there any jalapenos available? Seeing as I am a jalapeno farmer, I got a thriving plant that still needs to be harvested outside. I might slice up some jalapenos. Maybe a nice little addition to the cheese and the bacon. It is limitless. Or maybe I go a different way entirely, Waz. No mustard, no ketchup, chili, and cheese. What do you think about that? Do I put relish? I'm not opposed to relish. Is it my go-to? Not really. Sauerkraut? Not opposed to it. Is it my go-to? Not really. Pretty standard dog guy if it's just one off the rack. Ketchup and mustard and I'm happy. However, if I'm getting frisky, I'll go all in, pal. Sky's the limit on my creativity, homeboy. Give me Justin Jefferson, Waz. That's how we're going to wrap up the voicemail. The voicemail is presented by Oodle Noodle. 4 torpedo shrimp for $4. Make it a meal anytime for $6.99 in store. Get your box and add 2 spring rolls or a green onion cake with a pop. That is just $6.99 in store at Oodle Noodle. Ari, walk by, walk in. That's how we're going to wrap up the podcast. Read the GDB, which will be written by me for Sunday for the first preseason game of the year. Plenty of training camp content going up. We got news updates. We got Gregor down at the rink. He's doing his thing. Until next week, or potentially an emergency episode of the podcast if anything fun happens during training camp at the preseason. I will be back. Schedule normalized. Should be back on Wednesday. Thank you for being patient. Thank you for being you. Tyler, why won't you kiss me?
What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.